Welcome to Bonnie's Beat. I'm your host, Bonnie Squires. We're coming to you from the studios of Radnor Studio 21 in beautiful downtown Wayne. And we'd like to tell you what's going on in the world of art, culture, politics, academia. And we always have important people stopping by. And today our guest is Stephanie Brandow, who is the president of the, of the Philadelphia Orchestra Volunteers Committee, which is a full-time, non-paying job. Right, Stephanie?
That's right.
I have to tell you, Yannick Nézet-Séguin, the new conductor, you just want to put him in your pocket and take him home. He's so cute. He's so lively. He's so brilliant. He's so talented. How would you describe Yannick?
Well, I ditto all of that because he is all of those things. But beyond that, he is just almost like the translator of music.
Oh, that's a good phrase,
just
the translator of music. I like
pulls
that.
the music out of our musicians, and they adore him. And when you watch him conduct, it's incredible.
And you've got world-class musicians. I mean, they must be the envy of every conductor of every orchestra around the world.
They are. We are definitely one of the top in the world, and I think that if you listen to them, that is very evident. And I think my first moment of Yannick was sitting at a concert, and I could not stop smiling. My whole face hurt. I mean, he just has this magnetic energy that makes you want to tap your toe, and you're so engrossed, and he is so engrossed. He doesn't have a stitch of music in front of him, and it's really, truly incredible.
He doesn't put music on the stand in front of him?
I have never seen him conduct with music.
Oh, it's all in his head. Oh,
it's incredible.
All in his head. Oh,
it's really neat.
Amazing. And especially since he's from Canada.
Well, I have to say we are very, very fortunate. I think we were one in many people vying for him.
I'm sure.
And why he chose Philadelphia, we're still very grateful. But he's really, I think, the kind of the person to elevate our music just one step even further.
I was with the Alliance Française de Philadelphie when they had a cocktail reception to welcome him to Philadelphia. It was a couple of days after the orchestra had launched the first concert and had their reception. He made such a hit. I mean, men and women alike. He just sends out these signals, the energy, the exuberance. He's just delicious.
He is.
You just have to fall in love with him.
He has an energy that is magnetic. You really feel very connected to him once you've watched him. And even if you can't be as close as where you were in a cocktail reception, there's something that just, you feel part of the whole family or the bigger picture when you see him and when you watch him conduct.
Now let's find out about Stephanie Brandow. Is it Brandow or Brandow? Which is it?
Brandow.
Brandow. And how did you get involved with the Philadelphia Orchestra?
Well, about 12 years ago, a woman that has been a huge part of the orchestra, her name is Alex Pennington, she actually chaired the first opening night they ever had. She called me one day and said, we're doing this event called Toys for Big Boys, and it's an orchestra party for men, which they don't have very often. And she said, would you be part of our committee to make things for this, or to gather things for the auction? And I thought about it and said, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to. So I jumped in, and I guess they felt that I was a hard worker because they asked me to be part of their committee. So I am on the Chestnut Hill Committee for the Philadelphia Orchestra, as well as now the president of the volunteers.
How many volunteers are there for the Philadelphia Orchestra?
There are roughly about 440.
440, woo!
And we could have many, many more.
I know a former neighbor of mine who's wonderful, Esther Schwartz, always works on this ad book. It's not an ad book the way any other organization has an ad book. It is a coffee table publication for the Academy Ball, which is so spectacular and raises gazillions of dollars, right?
Well, we hope gazillions of dollars. Not quite that, but we tried, and it's been a beautiful book. I actually co-chaired that book in, I want to say maybe '09. Time flies. And I had the biggest treat. As a volunteer, you have many memorable moments, and this one was one of them. I co-chaired the book, and in that we had a photo taken with the chandelier brought down to our level, So we were literally
Oh.
sitting with the
Oh.
chandelier
Oh,
right
let's
at
get a
our backs.
Let's get a close-up of the chandelier if we can.
Well, that is beautiful, but I'll tell you, when you see it up
Isn't that
close and
incredible?
personal, and it's about
They
4 inches
lowered it
away
from
from
the
you,
ceiling.
yes,
Wow.
to sit behind us for the photo for the Academy Ball book.
I was there when they honored Mrs. Annenberg of blessed memory, and she had given another, who knows, umpteen $1 million for the renovation of the ballroom and the renovation of this fabulous chandelier and so on. I'll tell you, we miss the Annenbergs, we really do, because between the ambassador and Lee, they just were movers and shakers. I remember writing a column about Ambassador Annenberg many years ago saying that he set the bar so high, I hope that somebody like Bill Gates could reach that high, And he's turned out that Gates has, But there aren't too many souls like Walter and Lee Annenberg. Absolutely not.
They were firm believers in not only the arts, but in the Philadelphia Orchestra, and they were incredibly generous, and we do miss them.
Because at the Barnes opening, I noticed high on a wall in that gorgeous atrium lobby, the Walter and Lee Annenberg Foundation. I said, even after they're gone, they keep on giving. It's just remarkable.
It is remarkable. They're sorely missed.
Now, did you take piano lessons as a kid?
I did.
You
I
did?
had a piano teacher. Her name was Mrs. Roper, and she was never happy with me because I didn't do all the practicing that she was really hoping for. I did practice, but not as much as she expected. The piano was a huge part of my life because my mother played endlessly. She had a baby grand that my father gave her when I was 6 years old. I'll never forget it. It arrived, my mother, it was one of the best days of her life, and she would play. And if the music wasn't playing in the stereo, it was playing because my mother was playing the piano. And she used to warm up to Rhapsody in Blue.
Oh,
Imagine.
oh my.
So she was a very accomplished pianist and loved the piano. So that was the requirement. We all had to take the piano until we ventured into another instrument.
Did you move to another instrument?
I did. I moved out of the piano. Mrs. Roper and I did not get along very well. So I moved to playing the flute. And
Well, that's really tough to be a flautist, and most people don't know how to pronounce it, right?
that's correct.
I get brownie points for pronouncing it correctly.
You do. So I not only moved to play the flute, but I then also played the piccolo.
Tough instruments you chose. What made you pick them?
I just liked how they sounded. It was just a kind of a connection of the sound and not so much the piano I heard all the time. And
Where did you go to school that you heard piccolo and flute?
well, it really wasn't at school. It was at the university, Idaho State University Symphony Orchestra.
Idaho State University? Where were you,
Pocatello, Idaho.
where were you born and raised?
Pocatello, Idaho. If you can believe
You don't
that.
have an accent like a potato. I don't understand.
It's funny that you say that because many people say that they feel that I have an accent and they can't quite put a finger on what it is. And when I tell them I'm from Idaho, they say, oh, well, maybe that's it.
Yeah, because I thought you were from Ardmore.
Well, I live in Ardmore now, but my roots are from Pocatello, Idaho, and my parents were very, very big supporters of the symphony. In fact, my mother was the head of the auxiliary, and I think that's where I get
Oh,
this.
so you come by it naturally.
I do. My mother
It's
was a
in the
volunteer,
genes.
and here I am. She'd be so proud. But my parents, I was the youngest of 4, and my parents were afraid that my brothers might beat me to death if they left me home with my brothers when they went to their concerts. So every Sunday, I was the youngest and went to all the concerts. And the highlight of the concert for me, not only, I loved the music, I can't say I didn't, but were the cookies. There was a group of women who made cookies, and they had cookies and tea and coffee after every concert. And I could hardly wait. I used to count down in the program, 6, 5, 4, 3, and just bolt outside as fast as I could to get the cookies. So that's kind of where my music started. And my father was a physician, but he sang when he was much younger with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. So there was music always in my home.
Is your father a Mormon?
He was a Mormon. He's deceased, but yes, he was a Mormon.
Was he buddies with Mitt Romney?
No.
Did you ever meet Romney?
No, I didn't.
I went to see him at the rally out of Valley Forge. I'm a big D, as everybody knows, but I thought it was only fair, since I had covered George Bush when he was president so many times, that I go out and at least see Romney in person, And they're all very appealing. They have to be.
They
I
do.
mean, to have gotten to the level that they've gotten to, he was elected governor of Massachusetts. He beat off all the competition to carry the flag for the Republican Party. So, but he hasn't looked so terrific the past, few weeks since the election. But I'm hoping that he'll come to his senses and he'll start building America for everybody.
I hope so.
Because I think he has it in him. He just didn't find it yet. But we'll help him find it. Now, do you bake cookies now for the volunteers?
We don't bake cookies. Unfortunately, the Kimmel Center is a union, and they wouldn't find it kindly to see us marching in with our cookies. Neither would Jose Garces, who's now the new caterer there.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Isn't that exciting?
In fact, in the lobby level where there used to be a gift shop, that is going to be a kitchen, Jose Garces kitchen, that will be a restaurant, but it will truly be one of his tables that he himself cooks at.
It's interesting because my husband and I went to the theater, the Adrian, the other night, and usually we hit Village Whiskey and get hamburgers because it's right at the corner of the street. But when I got there at 6 o'clock, they said it's a 45-minute wait. I said, bye. And I went next door not knowing what was next door, having never been next door, didn't recognize the name on the door, Tinto. Went in, I said, I don't even know what kind of restaurant this is. And they said, well, it's tapas. I said, oh, we've been to the Amada restaurant at Revel, the casino in Atlantic City, and we loved it. They said, oh, yes, it's Jose Garces. It's the same thing, It was very interesting plates. They really are.
He's so creative. He's
Very
wonderful.
So unusual. You don't see anything like that.
Right. So he's our new catering chef at the Kimmel.
So he's going to be doing, is he going to be doing the dinner, or the dinner will still be at the Bellevue for the Academy Ball?
The dinner will still be at the Bellevue. However, the president's reception, which is always at the ballroom in the Academy, will be a little different this year. They've changed it up a bit, and that is, it's always been just celebrated guests, people who have supported the Academy, and it's been a very private reception.
And media. Certain
And media.
They always let me come and take pictures
And it's an
write about it.
incredible party. It's really
fabulous.
beautiful.
First of all, you walk around and you look at the jewelry that the women are wearing and the gowns. And the men, they're all the same. They're always wearing tuxedos. But the jewelry is so spectacular. It's a treat. It's like a fashion show. It really is.
It's beautiful. It's so fun to see people dressed like that because they just don't dress up like that anymore for many events. So it's a treat.
Did you pick your dress yet? For the January 26th is next year's 156th Academy Ball, Saturday night, January 26th. Be there or be square.
No, I haven't picked my dress yet. I'm still kind of on the fence as to what I'm going to wear. We did, however, have a fabulous picture taken for the ball book during opening night, which is a stay tuned because it's a really exciting picture.
Well, every page is exciting, and there are a lot of nonprofits that benefit from the exposure, and they get their sponsors to pay the, can I say how much a page is? $3,500, so that their nonprofit can be featured, and they'll have their CEO, of the company that's paying for the ad, and they'll often they pose the photo. The photographer is a genius. I mean, he's really an artist.
He is.
And all the photos had to be done by, I think, November 20th was the deadline in order to get into the book. I pushed one of the boards that I serve on, but that was a little too rich for their blood, the $3,500 at this time. They had done it a few years ago. They just didn't find somebody who came up with the money this time. Next year, I'll work on them again next year,
Our theme this year, Celebrating New Beginnings, has been such a great entree for so many people because there are so many new beginnings.
I have to show this too. If we can get a close-up of this fabulous invitation. This is the invitation to the Academy Ball. But if you can get a close-up of the centerfold that says New Beginnings, isn't that fabulous? And you have a designer in-house that does these gorgeous invitations, right?
We do. We do. We have a designer that is part of the Philadelphia Orchestra. He is incredibly talented. We kind of give him a little bit of an idea of what we're looking for, and boom, he's a magician. Comes up with beautiful things.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Now, Yannick, because he's only 37 years old, I mean, I told him when I met him, I said, I think I have cheese in my refrigerator that's older than you are. I mean, but he just brings such enthusiasm and such vibrancy, and he's so young and so adorable looking that, have you seen an uptick in younger people being attracted to the orchestra?
We have. They had a party this past summer during the Stokowski celebration in June, and they specifically invited the young friends of the orchestra, and they met at a steakhouse prior to the concert, and you would have thought that Bono was coming. Girls were screaming. It was amazing, and he had a rock star reception, and
The Justin Bieber crowd has arrived.
It was fabulous, and he has just energized young people as well, and they are all just waiting with bated breath for the next moment of Yannick. So he came in, I don't know if you were there or saw it, but opening night this year.
I didn't get to opening night, but I'll be at this may even air right before the Marian Anderson Award and the concert, so I'll get to see. I had seen him in action before he was named the maestro. And he was so appealing at a press conference when he was introduced a year or so ago. He was just delicious and wonderful. But I'm really looking forward to the Marian Anderson concert. But especially I'm looking forward to the Academy Ball, because that's always so memorable, so spectacular.
It is. It is one of the parties my husband and I have gone for about 14 years. And
Her husband's a doctor, by the way, so he can afford the tickets.
We have gone. I've gone pregnant, not pregnant. I have to say it's something that we put on our calendar every year, and it's a special, special night. It's not to be missed. We make a reservation at the Bellevue. We make it a weekend. It's right around my husband's birthday, so we kind of make it his birthday celebration. It is really magical.
Maybe you can get Hugh Jackman, who is the guest of honor, who's so handsome and fabulous and talented and wonderful. Maybe he'll sing happy birthday to your husband. You have some pull. Right. You're the president of the Volunteers Committee. Hugh, would you sing happy birthday to my husband?
Well, funny, Hugh Jackman is our guest artist, and we're excited about that. But yesterday, my daughter sent me an email, and they had come out with the Sexiest Man Alive, the most recent Sexiest Man Alive, and my daughter posted to me, I think that I'll stick with Hugh Jackman. I think he's still the sexiest man alive. I'm not sure I like their pick.
Oh, they picked a young one, Tatum Channing. He's cute, but Jackman is handsome, gorgeous. Oh, boy. Yes.
I think this will be, many, many women at the Academy Ball will be completely engrossed.
Gaga over Jackman.
Yeah.
He's so appealing, he really is. And he's so multifaceted. It's amazing. So what's your favorite instrument? Now, you played the piano, you played the piccolo, you played the flute, but what's your favorite?
I think to listen to, my favorite instrument is the violin. I find that the sound of it so diverse. I just think that it's a fascinating instrument. It's so hard to play. I played it for about 3 weeks.
3 whole weeks.
3 whole weeks.
They said it wouldn't last.
And my whole family said, you have to stop that. You sound like you're playing an egg crate. That's when I switched over to something else.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I took piano lessons for 16 years myself. I was my piano teacher's star, and I was always the last one to perform at the concerts, you know. But somewhere along the line, and it might have been at Penn in a music class, somebody said that the violin comes the closest to replicating the human voice. Oh. And when I think about it, especially when you hear, some amazing violinist play, you can almost hear it resembling the human voice. Maybe that's why you're attracted to it.
I love it. In fact, David Kim, who I am one of his biggest fans, the concertmaster, he has played a number of events that have been very small events that I've been fortunate to go to. And it's just mesmerizing. I mean, it is so fabulous, and you can just close your eyes and almost put yourself in a different place. It's
I
really
remember
neat.
when the three brothers occupied all the major chairs for the violin and the second violins. They were unbelievable to have all that talent in one family, the same family. Are there any like brother and sister acts in the orchestra these days, or two brothers, two sisters?
Not that I know of. There
Father
are a
and
number
son,
of
mother and daughter?
There are a number of husband and wife combinations
Okay.
that both play in the orchestra.
Interesting.
I'm trying to think of brother and sister. I don't know of any, or brothers. I don't, but there could be. I don't know all the musicians. I know many, and
Do you get to sit in on practices?
You can go. I've been to many rehearsals. I don't generally go. I'm on the other side of the street over at 260 South Broad, and they're over in the Kimmel.
Oh, okay.
But I've been fortunate to go to many, many kind of unusual moments of music with the orchestra.
I don't know if the people watching the show can pick up on the color of Stephanie Brandow's eyes. Her eyes are turquoise, like Elizabeth Taylor's, and she's wearing this turquoise jewelry, which is the exact color of her eyes. How do you do that? And you're not wearing tinted contact lenses.
No,
like
I'm not.
No, you're not.
No. Well, coming from the West, I have a little bit of my mother with me. These are my mother's. And actually, this necklace was made by the woman who brought me into the volunteer group, Alex Pennington.
Pennington.
So
She made it?
She made it.
Where did she go to get those fabulous pieces of turquoise?
I don't know, but I asked her one year if she could make a turquoise necklace because my grandmother wore one very similar to this all the time, and I really loved it and said, "Can you make a necklace for me?" Which she did. And it has a fabulous clasp that...
Isn't that interesting? Oh.
Isn't that great?
It's almost like a painter's palette. It resembles so many different things. It's beautiful.
So Alex, who, as I mentioned, is a big Philadelphia Orchestra volunteer and really just an amazing, dedicated woman. We have an event called Jewel Noel, which is a benefit for the orchestra in its 42nd year, and she happens to be one of the vendors that sells her jewelry at the event. So many people have a little piece of Alex.
I went to a couple of those. Susan Tabus Tepper years ago used to host them at her fabulous estate. It's not a house; it's an estate.
Absolutely.
And Susan, was such a philanthropist. Well, she comes from the Tabus family, and they're known for their philanthropy. But they called it, at those days, they called it Jellies to Jewels.
Yes, yes.
And it was so much fun. Of course, if you touched the price tag, it kind of singed my fingers. But people were buying like crazy and writing checks like crazy.
This is the first year that the Central Committee has not done Jellies to Jewels in 20-odd years.
What was the deciding factor not to do Jellies to Jewels?
They decided this year that they were going to wholeheartedly support opening night. And instead of doing Jellies to Jewels, they all came in at a principal benefactor level, which was a $1,250 ticket for the night.
$1,250. I guess that's why I didn't go to the opening night.
Well, that was just one of the ticket prices, but they came in and they were our Sapphire sponsor for the night. So all of the ladies from the Central Committee were a big part of opening night.
Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
the other thing I wanted to tell you about Yannick and opening night, after dinner was served, he went through every single tier and went to every single table and introduced himself and said thank you. It was extraordinary.
He has such amazing people skills. You would think someone as accomplished at such a young age as he would be pompous. Not in the slightest. He's so down to earth. He said, well, he did the same thing at the cocktail party from Alliance Francaise. We had it at the residences at the Ritz because one of the board members lives there and had the use of the gorgeous community room there. And he just shook hands with everyone. he let me take pictures of him with everybody, and then I quick handed my camera to somebody so that I could get a picture with Yannick. But he was just so down home, delicious, wonderful.
He is. He is truly the people's conductor. I mean, he loves people.
Oh,
he loves being interactive with them.
He's like the music world's answer to Ed Rendell.
That's
how I
right.
would
That is so
describe
true.
him.
Big Y.
What did you major in college, by the way?
Economics.
Oh, well, so that's a natural segue to piano, flute, piccolo, Philadelphia Orchestra. What did you do with a degree in economics?
I started in banking. I moved to Los Angeles and I started in banking and soon realized that the banking world was really not my thing. And when I moved here to Philadelphia, I opened a small maternity boutique, which is kind of a crazy segue from banking to maternity boutique, but I realized there was a need, and I had that for a number of years.
What
And
brought
then
you to Philadelphia?
I've been married before, and I met my first husband in Los Angeles, and he lived here. So one of us had to move, and I moved.
Okay. Well, in those days, the wife always made the sacrifice, right?
I think that's still the case.
Probably in most cases, yes. So how long are you married this time?
I'm married 15 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
Well, it's not that long, but
Pretty
this is
good.
it for me.
This is it. This is it. Pretty good. And as I said, your husband is a surgeon.
He is. He is
Yeah.
a cosmetic surgeon, and he loves what he does. That makes everybody happy.
Well, and he married somebody who was so beautiful, she had no need of his services.
I'm his best advertisement.
That's funny. So how many people are you bringing to the Academy Ball on January 26th? I assume you have a coterie of friends and relatives, and they wouldn't dare say no to you?
Well, I'm hoping they all come, but we've had 2 tables of 10. We've had many, many more. I think so much of it this year in particular, I think many of the women are kind of grabbing their husbands and saying, we have to go no matter what. So we're hoping to have many friends. My sister-in-law comes from Albany. She loves the event.
She comes from Albany. Okay.
And we have 2 friends that we're hoping will come from the south of France.
Très bien.
Si, oui.
We just hope that New Yorkers have their electricity back. New Jerseyans have their electricity back. It's really astonishing and heartbreaking, the kinds of emails I've been getting from friends who, my niece in New York had to abandon her apartment, which was down by the World Trade Center. Oh. And her husband, their 2 little kids, had to move in to one of her husband's boyfriend's apartments for a week. If you have no electricity and you heat by electricity and you cook by electricity, what are you going to do?
Right. Very difficult. That situation is so, so sad. I mean, I think that we are kind of in a bubble out here and don't really see.
We're so lucky that we just, I mean, there were people that had damage from trees. I mean, I had one friend in Gladwin, not only did she have no electricity and no heat, but because a tree had fallen at one end of her street and a tree had fallen at the other end, they couldn't even get out of their street, even though they could get out of their driveway. And the only way I got through to her, I happened to catch her on the day that she was in her car with the engine running, with the heat on because she was freezing, and she was charging her cell phone. She says, "How did you find me?" I said, "Well, I've been calling you for days and emailing you." And then I found out this story. So eventually they were able to, everybody went to the Marriott in Conshohocken. I think that's where they all ended up, you know.
It's fun for a day, but it's not fun after a day.
No.
It's kind of fun to hunker down.
And one of my friends had to move in with her daughter. It just so happened there were 2 houses in this whole neighborhood in Penn Valley that were attached to something in Bala Cynwyd that went out for a week. Wow. And here she's getting ready for a bat mitzvah celebration, and she could only spend like 10 minutes in her house because it was so freezing cold that week. You know, so she was very happy when the electricity came on. What can I tell you?
Yeah.
Well, our guest today has been Stephanie Brandow, and she's going to make sure that we all go to the Academy of Music Ball, the 156th ball, and we're going to go gaga over Yannick. on Saturday, January 26th, 2013. It'll be here before we know it. Thank you very much, Stephanie.
Thank you.